Welcome back to Yield Today with Dallin Candland. I'm here with Spencer Muhonen. Is that how you say it? Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
He's the man. He's been working and grinding through college, working a job and worked at BYUI's in food and has done a lot of other stuff. And we're just excited to have him on to talk about AwardCo and all the good things he's doing for students and how to get out of burnout and so many other things. So thanks for coming, Spencer.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, Spencer, let's just start with like February 2022 and you reached out to me over LinkedIn and said like, "Hey, Dallin, like just keep up the good work. You can do you're doing some awesome stuff. I just want to applaud your work." And the words you used in that message on LinkedIn were very deliberate and they definitely struck me and it's something I remember and definitely helped fuel my desire to do this conversation down the road. Like what was going on in your head? How did this happen?
Um, I I remember a little bit of that for sure. I don't know. I think that I just saw that you were investing a lot of time into building your own personal brand, and also just really connecting with students, and really just learning from them and just taking the opportunity to be able to just add value to yourself, but then help others find that value. And that's just something that I admire in students, and that I just invite admire in people that are just overall willing to not only teach others but learn from others as well is just a very admirable trait. So that's just something that stood out to me. So I mean, you know, that's how we're here.
Yeah, yeah. I like being able to highlight those little things in others, and that's something that AwardCo does super well. Like, what is AwardCo taught you, like that you want to take like into like your like family life and all these other things down the road of like celebrating what you want to see?
Yeah, Awardco, uh, we constantly talk about every single day, just recognizing the good in others, helping other people feel valued, regardless of whether it's in the workplace and family life and anything. And I think a big thing for me is um, realizing that regardless of what someone's role is within a family, whether they're a mother, a father, a child, whatever, or in a friend group, things like that. Everybody has value, and it's important for peers, for family members, and others to recognize the small and simple things that people do each day. It doesn't have to just be like you got a promotion at work. We want to celebrate you. It can be things like, hey, we appreciate that you're just a loving person. Um, and we want to celebrate that. I just want you to recognize that as well. That I see that value in you. So at least for me, I take a lot of that into my personal life just because I believe that people really do need to be recognized just for who they are. Everybody has the potential on this earth to be a good person, and people need to know and understand that. So I would say that that's a big thing that I just kind of take into my personal life for sure.
Yeah, well, it makes me think of like a kid who, their dad gets home from work and the kid has been treated well and has had a good day. And so the kid is able to, like enfold its parent, in a hug or something. And the dad is very
Hmm.
important, but the kid, it's also extremely important that the kid is
Hmm.
well fed and, able to help sustain and help the dad. When I listen to a lot of podcasts of these people that push through adversity and stuff, it's like, dude, I don't know what I would have done if my kid wasn't there. So it's like
Hmm.
it's very, very important.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. Was there a time, I guess, where you felt a little like overlooked or just maybe undervalued in the workplace or anything? It could even be like a baseball team or something. You just felt like you were just out of the picture.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would say a big thing for me was um, well, I guess I need to be somewhat careful. But I had worked for a company for a while where I didn't necessarily feel totally valued. no matter how hard I really did work, no matter how hard I tried, I didn't necessarily just like feel the overall love, so to speak. And it's interesting looking back on that point in my life, and then way far down the road, working for a company like AwardCo. It's a complete like culture shift to be able to go from like, oh my gosh, like I didn't really feel recognized or valued for a while, and then you step into a company that just preaches core values like this, and all of a sudden you feel like you're on cloud nine all the time. Um, so I would definitely say like I've felt just as much of the other side as I have, just being recognized.
Yeah, yeah. I can think of a couple times in my life, where you just feel like, why am I here, dude? Like, if I'm not gonna get like
Hmm.
some kind of like, not necessarily like give me like a $500 check or something, but just like say
Hmm.
thank you or something. Yeah, it makes such a big difference down the road. So
Hmm.
let's kind of talk about some of these things that maybe some people may not notice, like from you when they see your profile, because little do people know, like when they see Spencer grinding out these great posts and sharing these relatable memes and stuff, that there's a lot of other consistency that's part of your story. So let's talk about you working. Did you work in the Crossroads? Is that where you worked?
Oh
Or
yeah. So I mean, I worked at the Crossroads of BYU, Idaho when I was just my first 2 semesters of college. I was fresh off of my mission. Um, I had served over in the Portland, Oregon area, and I was taking 15 to 18 credits a semester, and then I was just doing that Monday through Friday. And yeah, obviously not the dream job, but I mean, I did kind of what I needed to do to make money and um, also be able to focus on schooling. So yeah, no, that was an interesting little start for sure.
yeah, did they just have you like just serving the food, or
Yeah,
or
no, that was really it. Is just like serving the food. That was really it. I mean, starts and ends there with that job description, really.
yeah,
Basically that.
gotcha. Yeah,
Hmm.
something I've seen looking at my whole BYUI experience is the times where I was able to have something, even just to like show up, it does give you like a sense of purpose. For me, working at Pizza Hut, like sometimes I wouldn't feel like particularly great about a great class or whatever. But then
Hmm.
I knew I could go to Pizza Hut and I could have this experience and people were gonna like be like excited to see me even though
Hmm.
it had nothing to do with me, it was everything to do with the Pizza Hut guy. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So did your cold calling that started with this other company that I haven't even heard of? It's like Fenton Office.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like my background in sales is I actually got into sales when I was 14. Um, way before college, and it actually came through, ironically, speech and debate. There were events where you could do like kind of like sales presentations, um, and I did. You sell a product for a couple minutes to a panel of judges, super cool poster board, things like that. You do whatever it takes to like just wow, just have a wow factor. And I would
Mm-hmm.
sell things like M&Ms. There's a survival tool called a life straw and things like that. I did a bunch of different things, and it kind of all started there. Then I spent 2 years in a sense. I mean, it's not necessarily sales, but pretty similar to door. I mean, I knocked doors as a missionary for 2 years. Um, Come back home, and I yeah, I started selling printers and copiers of all things. I got that job in the most random way. So my wife and I, we at the time we were engaged, and COVID was getting really really serious, and we were supposed to actually go to South Carolina to do pest control. Um, and she was in cosmetology school. She was going to take the summer off of school to go and knock doors with me as well. And everything got super bad to the point where, temples shut down everywhere. So we had to cancel kind of like, like our wedding, things like that. And it didn't feel right to go out to South Carolina, especially just with the pandemic. So miraculously, just this small business job just kind of landed in my lap, and it ended up being a great blessing where, I was able to, for basically a year, work, develop some, basic sales skills, um, get my wife through cosmetology school and all that stuff. And, you know, here at AwardCo now.
So it was part of the process. Yeah, it wasn't wasted time at all.
Mhm.
Like you got redirected in a way, but it was all just brought you to here. So like, how could you be upset about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I could never discount that job ever. Very, very grateful for the opportunity that I had um, to work for Fenton's Office Solutions. I mean, it basically paved a path for me to get to where I am now. Um, and I look back on it as it was just a blessing in a time where, job security wasn't a great thing for a lot of people during the pandemic, and it was nice to be able to have something like that.
Yeah. Well, what would you think was one of the biggest takeaways you brought from Fenton?
Oh man, I think overall it was just developing just more basic sales skills. Whether it was cold calling, email tactics, um, social selling to people in person, things like that. I think that was ultimately just it kind of paved the way in honing a lot of basic level sales skills for me to just get better, and just kind of progress as far as like my skill path was just went. Um, that's the biggest thing that I take away for sure is that it was the starting point to truly getting me onto a bigger and better track overall skill wise.
Cool. Yeah, so let's talk about something that we already talked about a little bit before the call. Your
Mhm.
strategy with taking classes. I'm pretty impressed with this. So break down like when you plan out a semester and when you're looking at like graduation and everything, like where does that lead you, I guess?
Yeah, so I'll be graduating fall semester this year, but for the last I don't know, it feels like 2.5 years. I've done almost everything essentially completely remote, 0 hour block classes, because my mentality for being in college is just because you're in college and you are working towards a degree does not mean you can't get into your career path. I wanted to get into my career path, and I wanted to start making money as fast as possible. Um, and with AwardCo, I basically planned it out to make sure that I take anywhere from 9 to 12 credits a semester, all 0 hour, so that I can work full time during the day. And if I have to go to the tutoring center, for a couple hours each night after that, then I just have to suck it up and do it for 14 weeks. But I've gotten to the point where my lifestyle has been I will never compromise progressing in my career and the paycheck just to be in person for a couple classes. That's not something that is a huge thing for me. I believe that students, regardless of how new they may be to their degree or something, they can still find plenty of ways to get into their career path fast and make money and get ahead, so to speak. Um, and that's just the whole route that I've taken is I never wanted to be someone that felt like they could finally progress career wise after they got the piece of paper, after they got the degree and grinded for 4 years. That was just never who I wanted to be. I just wanted to have a win now mentality. And my parents always taught me growing up that the pain is temporary. Um, so yeah, I mean, trust me, I hit burnout every semester, super, super hard. I'm at the point where I'm like, there's 2 weeks left in the semester, and I'm so done. I'm so done. Um, but it's worth it, and I know that when I graduate later this year, I can look back and say, this was absolutely worth it. Um, and the pain was temporary.
Yeah. The pain is definitely temporary, my friend. It is
Hmm.
definitely
Hmm.
temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like with let's go a little bit deeper, I guess. So like with those values that you chose, like how long do you think you've had your values like in that order? Because I think sometimes we are like, okay, I have to get to live here, or I have to go to this class or something. Technically, you don't really have to do anything. Like
Sure.
we get to choose these things, and values can help direct if you're
Mhm.
going to always prioritize one thing over another, then your choice is kind of made for you.
Yeah, no, I think that I was actually unintentionally thrown into it because of COVID. Because my wife and I, we had a lot of things drastically shift that did not go according to plan. Um, and having to provide in COVID while we were both in school. She was in hair school. I was still, a freshman, sophomore at BYU, Idaho. I was kind of forced into that responsibility where I had to work full time to provide. Everything went south. I mean, we nothing from how we got married was like a was traditional by any means, just because of what the pandemic did. So I think that it was COVID that actually just threw me into that, and ever since then, all I've known is just like work full time. School is secondary, but still important. Um, and I think that now it's just become a part of who I am. It's never something that I've wanted to shift away from, because when you also get used to making money, and being able to, afford to not worry about having to pay rent each month or things like that, you don't want that to go away. So I feel like all of those different factors a few years ago, just with the pandemic, kind of have put me into the place where I am now, as far as core values and just understanding where and why, um, and how I am the way that I am.
Yeah, it sounds like it was kind of built from your circumstances, but there's also like a deliberate chiseling that you're doing
Mhm.
with all the work that
Um,
you're putting in. So I imagine Nick Reese being here. He's not here, but I imagine him being here. Let's talk about the gym a little bit. How does the gym play a role here?
Oh, geez. I mean, the physical, emotional, mental, sometimes spiritual outlet. Um, I come from a family where I've got, a mother, a father, two brothers that are very obsessed with physical fitness, physical health. And that's something that's very, very, important to me. I go to the gym bare minimum five days a week. Um, and It's something where it's kind of my escape from reality, where I can let out maybe frustrations from work or the stress of school. I can just let it out for 2.5, sometimes 3 hours, in the evenings, just at the gym. And No, it's definitely valuable. It's kind of like therapy for me. It's like seeing a therapist, but it's just a bunch of weights. Um, for me, but no, it's something that's been a great outlet for me for sure.
Well, I think there's something really cool about seeing yourself grow.
Hmm.
There's that quote I think I've seen it multiple times, that there's like few things as addicting as like seeing your own growth and process. So do you follow like a clear, like, do you have like some kind of fitness coach that coaches you, or how has that like progressed or over time?
Yeah, so I mean, I got two younger brothers who are both preparing to professionally compete in bodybuilding shows, basically like, the qualification competitions and tournaments for, like Mr. Olympia and things like that. And both of my brothers, Connor and Tyler, take that incredibly seriously. And really, just anytime I need advice or guidance, whether it's on like meal plan or just workouts, I just go to them, because they eat, sleep, and breathe it, and that's what they both want to do with their life, and that's what they want to invest into. So it's kind of easy to go into to go to them and just get basic advice. But I mean, I just kind of have a routine where, for me, I'm married. I'm 23, almost 24 years old. I'm not really here to impress anybody in the gym. Literally, I guess, like, besides my wife. And I just want to be happy with myself when I look at myself in the mirror. That's a really important thing, is if you can look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with the body that you're living in, then you don't have much to complain about. And that's just something that I'm always striving for, is just being able to have that reassurance that I can look at myself in the mirror and I can just be happy with what I see and just constantly trying to be better.
That's epic. Yeah, I love that because you're like you're seeing your brothers doing this crazy body weight
Mm-hmm.
Olympian thingamabob,
Sure,
but you're
sure,
also like, I have these values, and so I am going to not, put fitness over work over school. It's like
sure.
it's this way to get the therapy out. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure.
yeah. So when we talk again down the road, if you want to do that, where would you like to be? Like, where do you see Spencer in the next like 12 months or so?
Oh man, I mean, in the next year, um, obviously done with school. Um, I would say potentially in a promoted different role at AwardCo. This is where I want to be long term career wise. I absolutely love what we do, what we stand for, and so far, the last 11 and a half months, almost a year, have been breathtaking. It's been awesome. Um, but really, I would also say the kind of Spencer that I want to see a year from now is the Spencer that is caught up on sleep and doesn't have as much stress anymore. Because I mean, that's what school does to you. It's not even necessarily just like having to balance all of it, but there is something about a little bit of frustration of working a full day and then realizing that you have six assignments due by midnight. Right after that, you have to grind out. So hopefully a little bit less sleep deprived and a little bit less stress.
Yeah, I think if you are following, just continue to follow, your values and the things that you're doing, dude,
Hmm.
you're gonna be chilling. Like when you get, a little bit farther down the road for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I admire what you've done with your career so far, and how can like students or anybody else like get in contact with you or be able to learn more from your journey?
Yeah. So I am extremely responsive on LinkedIn. I feel like I use LinkedIn just as much as any other type of social media. It's incredibly valuable to invest into your personal brand, and I love being able to help students and people progress on their career path. Number of years ago at BYU Idaho, I was able, with the help of a professor, Brother Charlie Crump, I was able to be the founding member of BYU Idaho's Professional Sales Society, which helps students understand how to get into the sales industry at a higher level, land high quality jobs, high quality internships, and ultimately, that society trains and helps students to be able to just maximize their potential, even though they're still early or late in college, wherever they're at. So that's a fantastic resource aside from me as well. But my DMs are always open. I mean, I'm very quick to respond. Always happy to chat about AwardCo with people. Always happy to chat about growth or just opportunities to better you know yourself. And I'm always willing to learn from others as well. That's a big thing that I'm constantly trying to work on now, is um, definitely wanting to learn from other people's experiences as well.
That's cool. Yeah, I watched this video yesterday with Blake Griffin because I've been watching a lot
Hmm.
of NBA stuff. And he was
Hmm.
putting on this camp for like the USA basketball team, and there was this group of teenagers that was there. And it turned out from that group of like 30 teenagers, like 19 would be playing in the NBA down the road. And so I think you can
Hmm.
look at some of the things that BYUI Sales Society has done and look,
Hmm.
okay, there's what he's doing, what he's doing. It's like, it's
Sure.
exciting. You guys are doing
Yeah.
some really good stuff. And we didn't even talk about that, but that is something else that you did while you were at BYUI. I think you have a fantastic campaign to look back on, and it's not even quite over yet. So, yeah, just keep up the good work, man. It was fun having you.
Yeah, hey, it was good to be here. I appreciate you letting me be a part of this, and it was good chatting with you, Dallin.
Yeah, well, take care, man. And if you had any other advice, what would it be like to somebody?
Um, the I know I already said it earlier, but the pain really is temporary. Whatever you're going through in life, regardless of how old you are, what circumstances you are in, I mean, there is always like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The world tends to not want to see that or have that perspective, but if if you're willing to work and you're willing to not just give up when life gets hard, then you can absolutely see the positives and like the fruit of your labor come from that. Don't be the kind of person that gives up. You don't want to have that personality. Like be your best self, and whatever success is to you, do what's ever necessary to get to that point where you can feel just in yourself that you're becoming more successful.
Amen to that. Wow. Yeah, that was a perfect way to end it. So I'm glad we went a little bit deeper there. But yeah, thank you so much, Spencer, and just keep up the good work, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Dallin.
Yeah. All right.